Hi everybody, this is Maureen Wong for yournextstamp.com. Today we're going to be making this fun bookmark, and you can personalize it on the back if you like. And basically it says you're awesome to the core and it has apple stamped all over it. So let's get started. Okay, to start with, we're using the Your Next Stamp stamp set called Fruity Fun, specifically the apple, which I've already removed here, and then we're also going to be using the sentiment, you're awesome to the core. And then I'm also using the Bookmark tag die set large. The largest one I've already cut from a piece of Express It cardstock, which is supposed to be really good for coloring with Copics, which I'm going to be doing today. So I'm taking my sentiment out, and it's actually stamped in two parts. The second part says awesome to the core, and then you have to stamp the your in on top of it. I'm using a dark brown hybrid ink today. Since I'm using the no lines technique, I'm not going to have the black outlines on my apples, so I decided I didn't want my sentiment to be black either. I wanted to give it a little bit softer look, so that's why I'm going with the dark brown ink here instead of black. So that is the second half of the sentiment, awesome to the core. Then I'm just going to clean that off and put it away, and then I'm going to stamp in the your right above awesome. So I'm using my small Martha Stewart footed stamp press because it helps me get the placement just right. And you can see I'm lining it up there right above the awesome and stamping it down. Now it says you're awesome to the core. And I'm going to be doing the no lines technique today, so I'm using antique linen distress ink to stamp my apple. I'm not sure if distress ink is a Copic friendly ink to use for stamping, but I have seen other stampers use it, and I don't know, I think it's okay, but if you would prefer, you could use a light colored Memento ink. I just went with the distress ink today. So let me zoom in and speed up the video so you don't have to watch me coloring forever. Okay, let me see what we're using here. In the red range, I'm using R29, R27, R24. And basically what I'm doing is just taking the marker and outlining where I want that particular color to go, and then I'm flicking in my color, and then I'm coming in with the next color, flicking that in after I do the outlining for where I want it to go, doing a little bit of blending, and then here I'm finishing up with the R24. And the thing about the no lines coloring is that your Copic marker is going to be your outline. And for the stems, I'm using E27 is the darker brown, and then here I came in with E21, but it was really too light, so then I came in with E23 and decided that E23 was actually the shade that I wanted. And in real life there is actually a better contrast between those two browns, and you can really see the difference. And for the greens, I am using G28, G14, and G07. So because your marker is the outline, instead of having the outline from the stamp itself, from the whatever color ink you're using, you want to be very careful when you're doing your outlining portion with your stamp or with your marker, because that is really going to be the shape of your object. So I'm trying to smooth out the edges. Some places I might have gone in and made it a little bit crooked or a little bit bumpy, so I want to smooth out those edges. But basically just deal with the fact that it's not going to be absolutely perfect. It's a really organic look. Sorry, my hand is blocking there. But it's basically the same technique for the other apples, I actually came in and did the top first with the lighter E23, and then came down and did the stem with the E27. And I apologize that you can't see. That's just the way I color. I need to set up my camera differently, I guess. But basically that's it, and then you just go ahead and finish off the other apples like that. And what I've gone ahead and done is cut another piece of cardstock with that same die. Now I'm going to put, and you can see why you need another piece, because the Copics did bleed through the cardstock. So we want to cover that up with another piece of white cardstock, and it doesn't have to be the Express It. I'm just using a scrap piece of any old white cardstock that I had in my scrap bin, and I'm attaching that to the back of my colored piece. And then what I'm going to do is, right now you can personalize the back if you want with a person's name or something else like that. Then what I did was I ran it through my laminator with 3mm laminating pouch, and now I'm taking my paper trimmer and I'm going to trim off the excess. You could do it all by hand, but for those really long straight portions, I prefer using the trimmer to get it just a really nice straight edge. And how I'm doing it is I'm lining up the edge of the cardstock with that printed edge of the trimmer, and the cutting edge is just a little bit away from that printed edge, so I'm going to get a nice little margin of laminating sheet on the side. You don't want to cut right up to the cardstock, because then your laminating sheet will come open. What holds it closed is that it sticks to itself. So I trim the 3 sides of my bookmark, the sides and the bottom, and now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to hand cut, rounding the corners on the bottom. And then I'm going to cut basically that shape around the top. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but again, you need to leave a small margin to make sure that you don't open up the bookmark. You want this to be waterproof and just in case. And then I'm going to take a 1/8 inch hole punch and punch that into the center of the hole in the bookmark, and then I'm going to get out some baker's twine so that I can make a top for my bookmark. Okay, I found this shade of green that I wanted to use. Now I'm just going to cut off a random piece of this. I'm not measuring it or anything, and I don't know how long it's coming out. And then I'm just going to fold that in half and cut it again so that I have 2 separate strands. And then I'm just going to feed those ends through my little hole. And because I used an 1/8 inch hole punch instead of a 1/4 inch hole punch, which you could use the 1/4 inch instead, but because I used the 1/8 inch hole punch, I'm going to need a little help threading that baker's twine through the bookmark. So I'm getting a, it's called a dental floss threader or something like that, I think, but it's basically for helping you with your dental floss that you get at the drugstore. So that is my threader, and then I just pull it through, and that is basically it. So I hope you like this laminated no lines apple bookmark, and we hope to see you over at yournextstamp.com for these and many other fun products. Thanks very much for watching.